has come and gone as we are preparing for an exciting second half of New York Mets baseball. This is episode number 27 of the Queen's Connection. I am your host, Andrew Patton, joined by the co-host, Corne Hogeveen. Corne, hello. We got a lot to talk about today with the Rockies, the All-Star games, Futures game, draft. There's a whole lot on the table today.
Definitely. So let's get into it and stop and not have too much shenanigans before we get into it.
Get into the nitty gritty. So let's just, like you said, get right into it. So we're going to go back to last Friday, almost a week ago now, when the Mets had a three-game series against the Rockies going into the All-Star break. And Friday's game was, well, you could have fooled me and said this game was in Colorado because there were 9 home runs hit in this game. The Mets did get the win 7-6. So long ball action in the second inning from Vientos, Iglesias, Bader. Bader hit another one. So did Jose Iglesias. So the long ball at Citi Field, and the Mets were sitting pretty comfortable. With a 7-3 lead going to the eighth inning after Shamanaya gave them 7 quality innings. We'll get into his performance later. But the bullpen had its struggles in that eighth inning with Jake Diekman allowing a home run. The same with Phil Maton in his second nine as a New York Mets. So a once kind of easy peasy game for the Mets got a little tight, made it 7-6. The Rockies did get some traffic on Diaz in the ninth inning after some walks, but Edwin Diaz did get a strikeout to end the night. So the Mets did win the opener of this three-game series with the Rockies 7-6. Let's talk about Manaea here. As I said, 7 quality innings from him, 5 hits, 3 runs. They came on home runs. That was the theme of the night. Only 1 walk with 9 strikeouts. So Sean Manaea, a really good performance going into the All-Star break. What'd you like from Sean in this outing?
Yeah, it's again with Sean and I. It was the fastball, a sweeper. I think the changeup. He got a little bit lucky with it, and I think that seventh inning home run was on the changeup because it was an 89-mile-an-hour pitch. I'm not necessarily sure what that pitch was, but I think it's too low for his fastball, or he just got tired in that seventh inning. Is also a possibility. He hung one against a sweeper. I hung a sweeper against Toglio at a tremendous series. But overall, I think he threw the ball well, threw a lot of strikes. Would even say that maybe, which is odd for Shalmanaya, threw too many strikes because he did get away with some 0-2 pitches that were middle. But yeah, I can't blame someone who goes 7 innings, striking out 9. That's a tremendous outing, and Manaya has been on a roll lately with throwing more strikes. So yeah, it's a little bit, maybe at times he was a little bit too much the other way than we see earlier in the year, but still good, still solid for Shalmanaya.
No doubt about that. His last 7 outings, he's 3-1 with a 3.2 ERA, 39 and in third innings pitched with 39 strikeouts. That WHIP is also down in those last 7 outings. It was at 1.09. So, like you said, Sean Manaea of late really been throwing the ball well for the Mets and giving them some length because a theme we've talked about on this show is the Mets haven't gotten some length out of their starters, but really they have the last couple of weeks leading up to the All-Star break. So that's always very good to see. And uh, the long ball, like we talked about in this game, was prevalent. But let's just talk about some guys in the bottom of the order that have been kind of spark plugs of late. Obviously, we know Jose Iglesias not just with the song, but his play on the field is helping this team getting on a roll. And Bader with a really solid game here, obviously with the 2 home runs, but we know he's a good defender as well. So I think it's a good sign for the Mets because obviously those top 4 guys we've talked about, Lindor, Nimmo, Martinez, Alonso, when those guys are hitting well, it takes kind of the pressure off maybe some of these other guys. But you look at that bottom half, especially of late, those guys have been really maybe leading the charge these last few games or so. Um, I'm just curious what your thoughts on this bottom half of the order, particularly guys, more of a guy like Jose Iglesias, because obviously it's something we talk about almost every episode now is Is Iglesias going to get more playing time over Jeff McNeil? How are they going to find playing time for Jeff McNeil if they play Jose Iglesias? So I'm just kind of curious, now that the Mets are in a race for a wild card spot, should Jose Iglesias be getting more at bats, regardless of if it's a lefty or a righty on the mound?
I think what Jose Iglesias is doing is fun, but probably not sustainable. So, and I do believe that over the last weekend, we saw some better at bats from Jeff McNeil, probably the first time in this year where I felt it might be a turning point for Jeff McNeil. We have seen some other good moments lately with Jeff McNeil, but this is the first weekend I saw that he just put some better at bats um, going. Is getting going. Might be getting going. Let me rephrase it like that. And I think Iglesias is fun. Obviously, he's a big spark plug and big help for this ball club. But the numbers he's putting up right now um, are probably not gonna stay that high. So I think in the end we still need Jeff McNeil to return to his production and hopefully have a good second half.
A good second half from Jeff McNeil would be welcomed by a lot of people, fans, the organization, everyone involved. But that's kind of a good segue into Saturday's game against the Rockies because Jeff McNeil did have a big hit in this game when the Mets won this one 7-3 over the Rockies. It was started by Christian Scott, who is still in search of his first major league win. He only went 4 1/3 in this game. But something the Mets have been doing of late is when a team makes a mistake, making them pay for it. And that's exactly what they did in the second inning with some poor defense by the Rockies. So that kind of opened the floodgates for a 4-run second inning for the Mets. The Rockies did start to chip away. They got a home run in the third from Jake Cave, and then also in the fifth from Charlie Blackmon to make it a 4-3 game. So Christian Scott in that fifth inning couldn't quite get out of it, so the Mets had to rely or call in your boy Jose Butto to come out of the bullpen, and he was solid yet again. Butto goes 2 2/3 out of the bullpen, just one hit, one walk, 5 strikeouts. His ERA is now down to 2.56. So Jose Butto giving the Mets some length out of the bullpen. That was something we've been talking about in our previous episode. But the Mets in the eighth inning, they really got that separation back on a home run from Francisco Lindor, number 17 for the should be All Star, or should have been All Star, I should say, because now it's in the past tense. Uh, so the Mets take the second game of this series 7-3. Um, so let's talk about your boy Jose Butto because that we talked about in our last episode with the possible 6-man rotation coming. You're losing the bullpen arm, so it's important to have guys in that bullpen who can give you length. And obviously, Jose Butto is a guy that can do that and can do that very well. So it seems like he's pretty much in my mind, he should be a bullpen lock going forward. Um, but what did you like in this outing from Jose Butto that you think made him so effective?
It's a change up for him. I thought his change up was really good again. He's just I not necessarily expected, that I as a Buto guy would like him in the bullpen as much because I still hope that eventually he will be a starter. But I think I said this last week, but I'm not sure that Stearns has done it with some other starting pitchers in the Brewers organization that turned out pretty good. So um, hopefully that's the future for Jose Buto. I still believe in him as a starter, but as a starter, we saw glimpses of him, losing control a little bit. And as a reliever, he hasn't done that at all. He's been in complete command with all of his pitches. So I'm very impressed for a guy who hasn't necessarily been in the bullpen a lot of times, who at times had some control issues when he was in the major leagues, has done so well out of the bullpen and has been in complete control out of the bullpen. So I'm really impressed. And yeah, sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. Maybe that was for me with liking Jose Butto before his great success. But yeah, I do like that sometimes the guys from the minors, because it wasn't just this year, but from the minors on, and do well. Obviously, it's good for me as well.
Well, he had to come into this game because Christian Scott in that fifth inning struggled a little bit. He got a strikeout to start the inning, but then a single, the home run from Charlie Blackmon to make it a one-run game. Tovar, who had a nice series for the Rockies, a good young player, leading the National League in doubles, I believe, or he's at least towards the top. I know Bohm was up the top as well. Uh, and then McMahon walks, so Buto comes in and gets a big double play ball to get out of that fifth inning. So Christian Scott still looking for that first win in the major leagues. Um, what'd you take away from Scott's outing? Because obviously he came out strong, but then it kind of faded a little bit towards the end there. So um, I guess this will be a two-parter. I already asked part one, what do you think of Scott this outing? And then the second question is, with the Mets probably trying to limit his innings, do you think Christian Scott is a possible candidate to go to the bullpen and pitch out of there? Something you've alluded to in the past that Stearns had back in Milwaukee. These guys did pitch out of the bullpen. I think of Brandon Woodruff particularly um, as the Exhibit A guy. So what do you think about those? What do you think about that possibility? And then what you take away from his outing on Saturday?
There's one thing I want to ask you regarding Christian Scott, because when I look at Christian Scott, and maybe I didn't look at the Baseball Savant page, but does it seem like his pitches lack a little bit of vertical drop, I should say, because his slider tends to move horizontal, which means that when the hitter, that may be partly why he allows his home runs. Maybe I'm not true, but that's just a question I want to ask you.
Because you're saying like on the slider, sweeper, whatever, instead of kind of having that sharp break downward, it kind of just goes left to right rather than going to like
Yeah,
down
more
southeast or
horizontal.
something like that, more of a diagonal kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's possible. And obviously, if that is the case, I feel pretty comfortable with who the Mets have working with their pitchers to get stuff like that fixed. Obviously, if they can do it this year, great. But if not, it's something to work on in the offseason for Christian Scott, who we believe is going to be a big part of this rotation for the next couple of years. So it's possible. Obviously, the home runs are his biggest bugaboo, not just at the major league level, it's at the minor league level as well. It seems like when he allows runs, it's because of the home runs. But like I said, I feel pretty comfortable with Jeremy Hefner and the staff they've assembled, working with these pitchers to correct any issues um, and I think Christian Scott. I don't think I'm on an island when I say this, but looks like Christian Scott, the stuff plays, and I think he's going to have a pretty good future in the big leagues.
No doubt. But yeah, the home runs do. It like you mentioned, it's not just the major leagues; it's also in the minor leagues. Seems like every time he allows a home run, it's on a home run. So it made me wonder. So maybe it's a thing that for his next outing, we both can keep a little bit of an eye on to see what we think if this uh, what I maybe noticed is fair or maybe not. So it's good to come back to it maybe next episode or after Scott's next start. But that's something that I thought I saw in Christian Scholar's pitches. And again, I didn't look at Baseball Savant. It's my eyes. So maybe that will be something where they definitely, obviously, like we have mentioned in this podcast earlier, we aren't the pitching coaches, and they are far superior guys than us. We are just the fans who maybe have an observation at some point for one side or another. But probably the guys who are in the Mets organization, the coaches, know a lot more. And your other question, the bullpen, could be. I think they like to not do it. But on the other hand, if you go to a six-man rotation and lose a bullpen arm, maybe eventually when they get closer to the innings limit, it might be what they're gonna do. Maybe switch Buto and Scott. Maybe they do, a piggyback thing. Scott 4 innings, Buto 4 innings. Maybe then try Buto the first four. So Scott can get his first major league win. Because yeah, if Christian Scott's gonna start and go 4 innings, that's not gonna happen. It could be. I don't think it's obviously gonna be the most popular move. I think a lot of fans, including us, really like Christian Scott. Um, but it's not something that's gonna stay. Especially like you mentioned, I think all three of those guys, all three of those aces for the Brewers, actually have started in the bullpen. So it's not just Woodruff in my memory. So and they all did pretty well after. So it's not like when that happens that's the future goal for the Mets.
Yeah, and I'll gotta give credit to because it wasn't my idea that I've heard that bantered about on uh, other shows and whatnot. So it was just something I heard. I wanted to get your thoughts on because we haven't really we haven't talked in a while. So there's a lot of catching up to do. So I figured I get your opinion on it. Yes, I know you're very disappointed. With the that we haven't done a show in a while. So
That's definitely true. I like doing this, Andrew. We are maybe a little bit rough at times against each other, but I like doing this.
Well, the Mets like winning because they took the second game of this series from the Colorado Rockies, going for a sweep into the All-Star break. But unfortunately, that did not come about. They lost the finale of this series to the Rockies by a score of 8-5. Um, Jose Quintana made the start in this game. Um, Obviously, Quintana had been on a roll of late. But a theme in this series was home runs galore at Citi Field, which is very strange. Usually you think that was at Coors Field, but no, Citi Field was Coors Field East for over the weekend. So Quintana's final line in this game, 5 and 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, but the 4 home runs allowed. Something we had talked about maybe the ball was carrying at times, and that helped some of the home runs, but uh, no, this is an issue that has plagued Quintana in the past, so you just kind of have to wonder if was this, were these, aided home run balls from Mother Nature, or were these just pitches over the plate that he left and the Rockies took advantage of it? So, um, what did you take away from Quintana? Do you think his line tells the full story of his outing?
I think the line tells his full story of his outing. I think at times he pitched pretty well, and that's noticeable in the 8 strikeouts. And also 5 and 2/3 is not that bad, but he missed his location. I think on 3 of the 4 home runs, um, fastball and middle curve. I think the middle fastball to Tovar on the first pitch isn't necessarily what you want to do against a guy like Tovar, who's a free swinger. So that was definitely a mistake in game plan, probably that first home run. The only home run I think that you really give credit to Toglia was the fastball away, which Toglia hit to right center field. A long way, by the way. That was an impressive home run. And didn't necessarily think it was a horrible pitch. Was maybe a little bit more up than you want, but was still on the outside corner. And you don't expect a guy to go that far into the stands on that type of pitch, in my opinion. But still, yeah, it were the mistakes, and I think we have seen at times with Jose Quintana that he just isn't the type of pitcher that should make a lot of those type of mistakes because those are getting crushed. So I think his command was off, which we have seen at times earlier. On the other end, still a good run for Jose Quintana, and still thinking that this next start could be the Quintana of before this outing.
Yeah, it was one of those outings that just kind of eats at you a little bit because the Rockies jumped out to that 2-0 lead in the first inning. And then it looked like Quintana started to settle into the game, and the Mets got him those 2 runs back plus an extra one, so they were up 3-2. And you would just kind of like that response, like from a veteran pitcher, like, all right, my team's got me the lead back. Now I'm kind of settling in. Let's shut the door here. Let's settle things down. But unfortunately, that next inning, the Rockies tied it up on a home run. That might have been the one you were talking about, the one to right center. And then obviously the Rockies in the sixth, they tacked on two more, so it just kind of went downhill from there for Quintana. So just kind of disappointing there. So obviously the Mets do not complete the sweep, but they take 2-3 from the Colorado Rockies. They go 5-1 on the 6-game homestand going to the All Star break. You take that every day of the week. So the New York Mets currently 49 and 46. They are sitting pretty third in the third spot in the National League wild card. They were a game up on the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The Pirates are just a game and a half back as well. The Mets, they're right behind the Cardinals as well, just a half game. They're four back in the loss column to the Atlanta Braves. So this is going to be a fun, interesting race coming down here in these last couple of months of baseball. So the Mets, obviously very much in it, and just got to keep doing what they did against the Rockies. Not necessarily, no, obviously sweeps are nice, but if you're winning your series, you're putting yourself in a good spot.
You always take winning a series, although I would say that the level of the Colorado Rockies, I did hope for a sweep, get that momentum going, but I can't be mad with winning a series 2-1. Even the Rockies are Major League Ball club with some good players on there. So yeah, it's you definitely take it. Time to just put put the I don't know how to say it, but the gas thing. I know put the
Put the pedal to the metal.
exactly, and we'll win more series coming up, especially the 4-game series against the Braves. That is coming up. I think somewhere next week. Could be a very nice series for the Mets. It could also be a not so nice series for the Mets, but the Braves aren't necessarily in the best um, period in their year, I would say.
Yeah, yep, I agree. And um, we talked about this stretch for the Mets. That was an important one, and I think they've done their job. Obviously, they got four more against the Marlins, but after that, you got the Yankees for two, you got the Braves, the Twins. These are some tough teams that are going to be coming. Well, I guess they go to the Mets go to Yankee Stadium, but they'll be in New York. So, um, some tough teams in New York coming in to face the Mets. So this will be uh, a challenge, but it's something the team has proven over the last, month and a half or so is that they can go toe to toe with these guys. So, some fun baseball coming up. Something we did not really expect back at the end of May. So, obviously, happy we're in this position, or they're in this position, I should say.
Yeah, they did what they had to do to be part of the of the teams that have a legit chance to get into the wild card, and that's all we could have asked for. And they actually have a spot right now, which I think helps, obviously, but also with some opportunities the Mets missed to get that spot. Finally, we have that spot. I think that definitely helps. And I think the Mets overall are playing good baseball. I think even in the Sunday game, we saw some good things. So I'm definitely not concerned with that loss that the Mets are not gonna get out of the All Star break playing bad baseball. I think they are still on a roll. So it's good to see.
No question about that. And we'll get into the All Star break and all the activity stuff there. So, I'll let you decide. Do we want to go minor league minute here, or do we want to dive into the draft for a second?
I would go minor league minute and maybe the All Star thing and then draft to finish
All
because I
right.
think
Well,
that,
that sounds good.
that's what people maybe keeps listening to our draft information. Maybe, who knows?
There we go. All right, sounds good. So I'll mute my mic and I'll let you have the floor here with your minor league minute.
All right, Dominican Summer League. Friday was a mess for the Dominican Summer League Mets. Both blue and orange team lost big. Blue lost 13-2, and orange lost 9-4. The blue team collected just one hit and had 6 errors. The orange team did a little bit better with 3 errors, but I would say overall that was not a good day for the Dominican Summer League Mets team. On Saturday, they did better, at least one of the two, because the blue faced the orange team again. Giovanni Rodriguez went 2 for 3 with a double, 2 runs. Rocky Solano, 70-year-old switch hitter, went 2 for 3 with 2 runs. Better day for the orange team. Edward Lentica had a 3-for-3 RBI day for the blue team. Anthony made the start for the blue and went 5 innings of run ball, striking out 4 and not issuing a walk. Vladdy Gomez hit his first home run of the season in grand style. Jose Guevara with another solid outing, going 5 scoreless innings. He struck out 5, lowered his ERA to 1.72. And Elvis Miralles has struggled but pitched well on Monday with 5 innings of run ball, striking out 6. Florida Conference League, Diversion Gutierrez hit his first and second stateside home run. Nice 10-18 OPS for the breakout star this year. Simon Wan and Jonathan Henriquez both went 2 for 4 with an RBI, both sporting an OPS over 800 this year. 19-year-old Omar Victorino walked 5 over 3 and third scoreless inning, striking out 4. Strikeout rate has been good, but the walk rate has been high too. Mexican righty Irving Costa struck out 4 over 2 and 2 scoreless innings, lowered his ERA to 3.81. Some good news on the injury department. Jacob Reimer and Drew Gilbert played some rehab games. They walked a combined 5 times on Monday. And Anthony Nunez got the start, converted pitcher who was a hitter before the Mets picked him up. I think he played in the Padres organization, but he's now a pitcher since the Mets picked him up. He pitched a scoreless inning, so always interesting to see his road. St. Lucie, solid outing for Ernesto Mercedes, who allowed just 2 runs over 5 innings, striking out 5 in a loss. He dropped to 0-10 on the season. That's definitely not great. Joel Diaz pitched well in the last 2. He went 5 innings of 2-run ball as well, striking out 7 without issuing a walk. St. Lucie got into the break with a 17-0 win. Ronald Hernandez hit his 4th home run in a 2-for-4 with 3-walk day, 3 runs, 4 RBIs. Boston Barrow drove in 3 on 3 hits. AGU win and Colin Houck both went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs, and Willie Vanas collected a 4-hit day. Franklin Gomez pitched 3 scoreless, striking out 2 in that big win, back-to-back scoreless outings for him. Lefty Zach Thornton made his return with a perfect inning, striking out 2. Zach Thornton was on the injured list. Good to see him back. Record going into the break for the St. Lucie Mets is 30-57. Brooklyn, Callum Clark, Christian Pregant, and Wilfredo Lara had 2 for 3 days in a Friday 3-2 walk-off loss. Dakota Hawkins went 5 strong, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits without issuing a walk and 5 strikeouts. Henry, yes, that's his real name. The Mets signed in May, struck out 4 in 2 scoreless innings, 12 strikeouts in 8 1/3 innings for the 25-year-old Dominican. Cyclones got a grand slam from Mateo Gil in a 5-out shutout win. Morabito and Lara had 2 hits. Jack Waniker went 3 scoreless innings, allowing just 3 hits without a walk in the shutout win. The Cyclones record in the break is 40-47. Binghamton, Kevin Parada homered for the 10th time this year. He went 2 for 4, driving in 3. Parada has been good in July so far, sporting a 294, 351, 500 slash line. Ryan Clifford stayed hot with a 2 for 4 day. He had a double and 2 runs scored on Friday. Jeremiah Jackson and Stanley Consuegra both collected 2 hits with a double on Friday as well. Jackson also homered on Saturday, his 12th of the year, and went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs on Sunday. A good weekend for Jeremiah Jackson. Nolan McLean with another so-so outing, allowing a lot of base runners, but 2 runs over 4, but 6 hits and 3 walks. And also we heard the news in the draft that Nolan McLean will focus on pitching and not be a hitter right now. So that's interesting. Luis Moreno's on fire lately, your guy. He went 7 scoreless, allowing just 3 hits and 3 walks with 5 strikeouts, back-to-back scoreless outings for him. Lowered his ERA from 4.63 to 3.59 after those 2 outings. Tyler Stewart went 4 innings, allowing 2 runs, 1 earned on 4 hits and no walks. He struck out 3. Paul Chopez went 2 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts. Binghamton record right now is 46-38. Syracuse, been a while since Beatty homer, but he did it again. He hit a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the fifth inning. I thought it was Saturday. Seems like Bannon is hurt. Well, that was I wrote down, but Bannon is also traded because he hadn't played for a couple of days. That's what I wrote in my notes. But we heard yesterday that your boy, Rylan Bannon, has gone to the Twins. So Andrew can't win the Ritter and Bannon thing anymore for who the Mets are going to promote first. So sorry about that, Andrew. I think you had a good lead with Rylan Bannon, but the Mets decided that you're still warm with Rylan Bannon. Mike Vessel with almost another Vessel special, as we are now going to call it. 6 innings of 2-run ball this time. A string of solid outings now for Vessel. Vessel struck out 5. Luke Ritter and Carlos Cortez had big days on Saturday. Ritter went 2 for 4 with 2 runs batted in, and Cortez went 3 for 4 with a home run, double, and 3 runs batted in. Luke Ritter homered again on Sunday and now has 64 RBIs. Tidwell kept struggling in AAA, but the bullpen did well. Syracuse got 2 2/3 scoreless innings from Justin Jarvis, who struck out 4. Wilkin Ramos and Matt Gage pitched a scoreless frame as well. In between, Josh Walker allowed a run, but still a good job by the bullpen. And Senga with another good rehab outing, 4 2/3 innings, allowing just 2 hits, 2 walks, and 1 run. Senga struck out 3, and Syracuse record right now is 57-35.
Well, there you have it. Not as long as I thought it was going to be. Obviously there was a lot of information there, but I didn't. No, I thought we were gonna, because it could be like a 20-minute minor league minute, but it wasn't that really that long.
No, we still have to draft. That might take a little bit longer though.
That will probably take a little bit longer. We will get into the draft and some of our favorite picks from this draft that you should probably keep an eye on. Obviously, we're very happy with the top of the draft, but there are some guys taken later that have some pretty good
Yes.
potential as well. So we'll get into that,
Yeah.
but we're not going to spoil everything right now because we want you to hang on and keep listening. Uh, so let's talk about the All Star festivities over the past couple of days. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not watch the All Star game because I have really no interest in the All Star game much anymore. I think it's been ruined by a number of things, but obviously the headliner is the horrendous uniforms of the past couple of years. Obviously, that's you look back at.
Last year was a good uniform, Andrew.
I don't even remember last year because I probably hated it so much, but these were bad.
Uh,
These were bad. These were bad.
yeah, I still bought one, but these were bad. Yes.
These were horrendous. Well, really, they've been doing this for, I mean, what? I think 2019 was the first time they started like wearing the National League, American League uniforms. I think
Yeah, could be.
because I remember when Conforto was the Mets All Star in 17, they were still wearing the uniforms.
Yeah,
18
in
was
in
DC.
game.
18 was
Yeah, they have.
DC, and but I think they were still wearing the team uniforms. But now
Yeah,
they've done this, and it's no one. I don't think anyone really likes it, to be honest with you. I don't think the players like it. There's already talks that they're going to have discussions about going back to the way things were, and obviously, I don't think the fans like it very much as well. So
I think you could go to what it used to be that you have all-star jerseys for like the BP and the home run derby and stuff. Not for the con for the players who do the home run derby, but for the people who are around it. And then when the game starts, you have your team uniform. And I think, in my opinion, probably still sells if you do that because it did before. Um, I do like some of the uniforms that that they had. I'm not necessarily a fan of this one, but I think last year was a pretty good uniform. I think the Colorado Rockies one, which you hated, I know, I like that. I have a little bit of a different opinion about uniforms than you have. But I get it. And I think most importantly, from what you said, the players. If the players want to wear their team uniform on the All Star game, then they should listen to that. I don't care what you say or any other fans say, but if the players want it, do what the players want. Let them decide. And that's not necessarily, I do care what you say, but I think you catch my drift.
I know what you're saying. You're saying John424 on Twitter, his opinion doesn't matter as much to you as compared to the players.
Exactly what I wanted to say, exactly. But you said it a little bit better than I did.
But obviously, also too for the from a Mets perspective for this All Star break or the All Star festivities, I should say. If a guy like Lindor or Nimmo was a part of it, I probably would have been more apt to watch and whatnot. But it was Alonso, who I'm actually a little surprised because we know how much the fan base loves Alonso, and we like Alonso too. Um, but I'm surprised with all the I don't know, backlash is the right word, but the disappointment that he was the Mets representative this year. Just figuring because everyone loves Alonso so much, I was expecting like, well, he deserves it, whatever. But he's the face of the franchise, whatever, blah blah blah. Everything we've heard before in the past. But there was actually a lot of people that were not happy with Alonso being the Mets representative. And to be honest, he didn't really like do a whole lot in the home run derby. He only hit 12 home runs, and that's I think someone said it was like the home run derby is Alonso's Super Bowl, and he just laid an egg. Um, and he kind of did, to be honest with you. And then obviously he came in late in the All Star game and had one at bat in the ninth and struck out. I checked the box score and um, it's and it just goes back to this whole Pete Alonso thing because even on the field he's not having that. A, I mean, he's having a fine season. He's having an okay season, but not an all-star worthy season, in our opinion, or in my opinion. I know you feel the same way, but I'll let you speak for yourself. The last 15 games, 220 batting average, 256 on base. The slugging's 356. I mean, those are just some really low numbers. And some points have been made about Alonso that during this Mets turnaround, whatever, when you list the guys of who you could credit this turnaround to, whatever, he's not really high on this list. I mean, obviously, Lindor, Nimmo, JD Martinez for that stretch, Jose Iglesias, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez. I mean, I would say Quintana too. I would put Quintana ahead of Alonso just because Quintana's, really up to that start against Colorado from mid June on was solid for the Mets. You got it, and no, now that turnaround was huge for the rotation as well. So, um, it's just a weird thing with Alonso because he's in this contract year. People want him to stay. He says he wants to stay. Obviously, it takes two to tango. They're going to negotiate whatever. But in my mind, if, if we get to November, December, the winter meetings, and Alonso is set on, I want to be paid like Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson. I'm not really comfortable. I mean, to be fair, it's not my money, but I personally wouldn't give him that kind of a contract right now.
Funny, was my minor league minute longer than this segment for you?
Probably, probably.
No, you're totally right. I think it definitely, after what the Mets offered last year, I think with the season Pete Alonso had, and with some of the red flags Pete Alonso has, because we saw a tweet from Mike Pietrello, I don't know how to
Mike
pronounce
Petriello.
exactly, which shows that he's just not hitting the ball as hard as he used to, and it's been a decline every year since actually his rookie of the year, I think, maybe 2020, which obviously was a shortened year, was the only that was better than his first year. So it's been a constant decline on him hitting the ball hard, um, or as hard as he used to be. So I definitely see some red flags with Pete Alonso there. On the other hand, Pete Alonso is still a solid player, and you would still have him in your lineup next year. It's not like Pete Alonso sucks right now, as you said. He still has a decent year, but there are some red flags. I think the Mets know that. I think the Mets want him back because he's Pete Alonso and he does a lot for this team and a lot for the fan base, which obviously brings in things. But I don't think the Mets are gonna, upper their offer what they did last offseason. I think there's definitely a good chance that Pete Alonso gets less the offer from the Mets was last year. And I think honestly, with the performance he had, he should, and I think it could happen as well. And I would say that if Peter Alonso takes a little bit of a discount instead of his previous offer, I would be comfortable giving him an extension because I don't think that that will make the Mets not go for other players. But if he wants, but like you said, Olsen, Freeman, or even more, yeah, I should let him get his luck somewhere else and see if somebody else is going to pay that because I'm not going to give it to him. And I think we mentioned a guy like Christian Walker who might get less than Pete Alonso as a guy who might be a better player right now. And that's coming from two guys who like Pete Alonso, but are realistic about what he is doing and what the red flags are.
Yeah, that Mike Petriello tweet here, I just pulled it up. This is Alonso's seasonal exit velo on pulled air balls. So, line drives, fly balls. His rookie season, 99.3 miles per hour. 2020, 101.5. 2021, 100.1. 2022, 98.6. Last season, 98.4. And this is a big drop. I mean, to be fair, we're a little over the halfway mark of the season, but it's 94.2. So that there's a 4 mile per hour drop in his exit velo on pulled, fly balls, line drives, and obviously we know
Yeah.
Alonso's a big pull hitter. Um, so that just stuck out to me. And of all the home run derby participants, that was 8 of 8. So he was
Yes.
last on that. And no, like we said, we're not trying to kick Alonso out, but there's you got to find the right price to keep him around.
Yeah.
What's the right thing to do? And if he's going to want that Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman, or more, like you said, money, I'm kind of in the boat of go see if someone else can give you that and circle back to the Mets. And if the
Yeah.
Mets don't want to match, then congratulations, you got exactly what you're looking for. And like you said,
Exactly.
there's Christian Walker, who's a pending free agent at the moment. We know Ryan Clifford has been making a lot of headlines of late with his promotion to Binghamton. The power's been there. Is that a guy you want to kind of circle as your future first baseman? Do you want to try Mark Vientos as your full time first baseman? There's options there. So it's not like the Mets necessarily are Alonso or bust. They have some options maybe, but if Alonso wants to take like let's say a max 4 or 5 year deal with a low, with a lesser, AAV than he's looking for. Let's say it's 20 million a year or something like that. I think Freddie Freeman is no. I think what is Freddie Freeman? What did he get? Was it like
No, but if you go a little bit lower in years, and obviously the prices have gone up, I think you have to take that into account too. I wouldn't mind going a little bit higher than 20 million a year for Pete Alonso. Also, there's a lot of money that comes off the books as well. Um, but it's just not going to be too much. Uh, I'm not necessarily that great in in the contracts thing. I just think that it's not warranted to um, give him that much more, and definitely not as the offer was before this season.
Freddie Freeman, his 6 year, $162 million deal? It's an average salary of 27 million per year.
Yeah. So I would go 22, 23 for Pete. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
And lower years. That's obviously
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not like in the range of 7, 8 with Alonso. I don't. I think that's out of the question for me. Matt
and you
Olson
can
is
give him up, and you can give him up types. And if he
yeah,
doesn't like that type of deal, he has the right to go and look for a better deal elsewhere. And you can still eventually, if he's not getting that, he can return back. I don't mind that from players. It's all a business, so I'm not gonna say, oh, you didn't pick up some offers from the Mets and now eventually you want to return. I would still give him that offer. Maybe, be a little bit of a harsh business guy and say, well, that was your offer then at the beginning of the off season, but that's not, when you want to look elsewhere, maybe that offer doesn't stand. But um, yeah, I don't mind him trying that eventually. Um, but I think Alonso did wish that he got that extension, and another Boris client that maybe didn't read his market well enough. Let me say it like that.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, last offseason, the talk was Scott Boris's clients necessarily didn't get the deals that they were expecting. No, the people and the fans or people were expecting in the beginning of the free agency. Matt Olson makes 22 million a year for the Braves for the
Yeah,
next. So
but that Braves, the Braves always get a discount, Andrew. I
that's
mean, you
also
have to
that's
take.
also true. That's also true.
I don't think that's necessarily a realistic. I don't know what they do with the Braves, but it's just crazy.
It is pretty crazy. But let's say that $22 million. Let's say like that. Like, would you give Alonso the 5 years for 22 million a year? Is that something you would do?
If we have Steve Cohen, yes. If we had another owner, probably not. If we had the Braves owner, probably not. But we have Steve Cohen, and he's not gonna sniff at 22 million. So then we still have a lot of resources um, to get other things, which are important. Just don't handcuff yourself
Yep.
with the Peter Alonso contract. That's easier for Steve Cohen to say than for another owner. So
Hmm.
Steve probably has a little bit more that he's willing to give up in that regard. But that's don't handcuff yourself. We're not, you know, maybe Soto, maybe Corbin Burns, whoever they also would like. Don't handcuff yourself on that guys if you want to get Pete Alonso.
I agree 100%. I think that was a good little exercise we did there. So there's your Pete Alonso top conversation for the episode. Um,
Yes. Also, we should mention Brandon Sproat with a good inning in the futures
oh,
game.
there we
12
go.
pitches, 8 pitches above 98 mile per hour. Uh, so he's getting there, Andrew.
He's getting
And
there.
he was asked, by the way, if you would like to be in the major league bullpen at some point.
I
So
have heard that bantered about. Maybe Sproul could be a late
yeah, I think
season arm just out of the
that's
bullpen.
pretty nice bullpen arm to have, I would say.
Yep. And then do what they did in Milwaukee, transition him back into the rotation.
Exactly. It's not that that ends there, people. Milwaukee Brewers have shown with 3 aces that you can start your major league career in the bullpen and work out just fine as a starter.
That's right. That's right. And there's some guys that the Mets have recently picked up that could find their way into the rotation in future years. So I think that's a good segue into the MLB draft that took place over the All Star weekend. Um, this might be the best part of All Star weekend, to be honest with you, right now. Either that or the futures game. So obviously the Mets made headlines picking Carson Bang. I don't know if I said his name correctly. Uh, from Oklahoma State, he was a two-way guy there, but it sounds like he's probably going to be more of an outfielder than anything. Uh, with the Mets organization. So he was announced as an outfielder, so that was kind of the giveaway, like you said. That probably be more of a batter than a pitcher in the Mets organization. And then they took Jonathan Santucci, a pitcher from Duke, with his second pick. He actually pitched in the FCBL, which is the league the Lake Monsters play in, which is the team I work for. So he pitched in that league. So just wanted to put that out there. But I know you got
Yeah,
something important to
definitely.
say.
Yeah, I do. I think I have some notes for every top 10 draft picks we had. So
Oh, so
one thing I want to say about Carson Bench is that he has some serious bat speed, great arm because he's a pitcher too. And it is seen as a little bit of a high floor, so a little bit of a safe pick, which is interesting. Not necessarily, still there's upside there, but I think they'll see um, um, a good chance he could be a solid major league outfielder.
Yeah. Do you think where in the outfield do you think? Do you think center field, right field with that big arm of his?
I think it's one of the two. I think most likely right field, but he is athletic enough to play center. But I would guess he's more of a right fielder. Maybe our 18th round pick can be the center fielder, because that was, I don't necessarily if I have the spot in the draft good, but there was a late round pick which who has crazy defensive skills. Probably a little bit less of a bat, but crazy defensive skills. But you will probably mention him.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So, what about Jonathan Santucci, a pitcher from Duke? And this was a theme. A lot of college arms in this draft from David Stearns and company. So, Santucci, what do you like about him?
Well, the slider, he got 64% strikes and 56% whiff rate on that slider. A lot of upside, some control issues. He reminded me a little bit of the Braden Sprout road, a guy with major stuff but lacked command. And we've seen this year what the Mets were able to do with Brandon Sprout and his control issues, because I don't necessarily think it's that existent anymore, because he's having a great year with the control issues. So hopefully the Mets can do the same with Santucci. I've heard or read how you say it, that he's a major arm with possibly 3+ pitches.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, forgot to unmute my mic there. So the Mets continue on this draft with another college arm, Nate Dome from Mississippi State. Then they go outfield here with in the fourth round, Eli Serrano the third. Then we get to a high schooler, Trey Snyder, shortstop, and then Corey Collins, first baseman from Georgia, in the sixth round. Will Watson, a pitcher from USC. uh, Ryan Lambert, pitcher from Oklahoma, Jackson Jelkin, pitcher from Houston, and Brendan Gritton, a pitcher from Oklahoma. So, like we said, a lot of pitchers here. Um, so, from those guys, basically from the third round to the 10th round, is there a guy that kind of stuck out to you? That you're like, okay, I kind of see this guy. There might be something there that um, really caught my attention.
One guy I wanna touch on a little bit more is Will Watson, the seventh rounder. Small, but smaller, not small. I think that's a little bit too harsh, but a smaller guy, but athletic right-handed pitcher, mid-90s, fastball, sinker, hard curve, occasional changeup. Um, what interested me the most with him is that he wasn't necessarily trusted early on the year, but eventually he made some strides and was seen as having the best stuff in the Trillions rotation. So seeing a guy who has worked hard, made strides, and became a major part of the Trillions rotation, and seen that he has the best stuff. So Will Watson is a guy with those type of reasons, will probably be a hard worker. Will probably, in the pitching lab, get information and get the best out of it. So I'm intrigued by the seventh round of Will Watson.
Yeah, I like this Jackson Jelkin kid from Houston that they took in the ninth round. He was the opening day starter for Houston this year. A big kid, 6'5", 190, so he's still got some weight to put on probably. Um, but he had Tommy John surgery, uh, so yeah, he's going to be out of commission for obviously another year or so. Um, but I'm just looking at some of these performances he's put together. The one that sticks out the most is back in mid March against BYU, 6 innings of 1 run ball, 1 walk, 13 strikeouts. So he's got some strikeout ability in there. He had 46 strikeouts and 34 in the third innings pitched at Houston this year. So uh, it's just one of those things where you're getting later into the draft. Maybe there's some guys you think have a lot of potential there that are slipping because they have had Tommy John surgery or any other injury issues this season. So that could be a potential sneaky grab there for the New York Mets. So I'm curious to see his recovery, and once he gets going on the mound, what if he can carry over some of that um, success he had at Houston this past year. into the Mets organization.
Yeah, definitely. That's the later round picks that you like the best. There are obviously maybe some little less um, good picks, and we obviously know that it not always works out well, but you see some upside in the late rounds. Are we gonna do the other 10 as well, or?
Yeah, well, I'll just run through these guys real quick, and
Yeah.
then you can single out someone if you'd like to. The 11th round for the Mets, Nick Roselli from Binghamton University. So obviously that's going to get some attention there with the Binghamton Rumble Ponies there. So that, and he grew up a Mets
Big
fan there.
Mets fan.
Grew up a Mets
Yeah.
fan. There was that article, I believe, Anthony DeComo just wrote for MLB.com, talking about how he grew up a Mets fan. So that's cool. Not a big guy, 5'10", 200 pounds. So kind of maybe he's got a little scrappiness to him or something like that. Could be a fun guy to watch develop. 12th round, Ethan Lengthier from Kansas. He's a pitcher. 13th round, R.J. Gordon, pitcher from Oregon. 14th round, Tanner Witt, pitcher, Texas. I should just say the guys' names, and if they're not a pitcher, just say the position they play. So this is a lot of pitching here for the Mets
Well,
in this.
right-handed pitcher.
True. 15th round, now we got another guy from Houston, Owen Woodward. 16th round, Josh Blum, another from USC. So the Mets double dipped at a couple schools here in the draft. In 17th round, this is gonna be your guy. I know you're gonna talk about him. Outfielder from Miami, Jacoby Long. Uh, so played at the U. We know the U has produced some good talent in the past. 18th round, Jace Hampson, high school pitcher from Lindenwood High School. 19th round, Frank Lysol, sorry about that. Nova Southeastern University, that's in Florida, pitcher, obviously. And then the 20th round is, I don't think this person's going to sign just based on the rankings and whatnot. Adam Haight, shortstop, infielder, Cedar Park Christian High School. So some of these late round high school guys might not sign. We've seen this happen in the past. They go to college, they build up their draft stock, and then they're top five,
Yeah. Yeah.
top five picks and stuff like that. Um, so I think I know we're going to go with here. I think I might, I already kind of spoiled it there, but who's the guy? Day three.
You're wrong.
I,
You're
I'm
wrong.
wrong. I thought you were going to go with Jacoby Long here.
Well, I already said what I liked about Jacoby
Well,
Long,
I thought you
and
were just
that's
kind of teasing us for a more in-depth
no.
analysis. So
I just wanna get that into the podcast because, and it's also because we talked about the center field, right field thing, so that helped. But yeah, what I said, great defensive outfielder, probably seen as one of the better defensive outfielders out there. But he wasn't the guy I picked. The guy I picked to mention, I actually had two. So I let you go first because I have a feeling that you might have picked one of the same as me. So
I'm going to go with a Tanner Witt from Texas. Uh, Big arm. They said another guy that kind of got nicked up and whatnot. Uh, but a mid 90s fastball. He's touched 97. They said it has some run. This is off his MLB.com profile, draft profile. So he's got a hard fastball and then that curveball. So he's got a hook as well. So I'd be interested to see, once he gets into the Mets organization, because it's hard to judge sometimes these guys with their college numbers. You're like, okay, his ERA was high or something like that. But then you get him into professional baseball with these guys and all the resources they have. Not to say that they haven't had these resources in college. We know that's really picked up over the last couple of years, but there might be a little bit more at their disposal here in major league organizations. So I'm curious to see what they do with Tanner Witt, 6'6", 230 pounds. So he's a big boy.
yeah, he was one of the two I wrote down. So luckily, I did a backup thing. Want to mention that Tanner Witt also was seen as first round potential back in 2021. It was a rocky road for him since, but you see that not long ago that they saw him as maybe a upper round arm. So that's definitely good to see. But my other guy that I liked was Frank Ellisold, a right-handed pitcher, provides a lot of spin, um, 3.71 ERA and 62 strikeouts in 51 innings. He topped out at 94. But with his spin rate, he is seen as a guy, as a metric darling. I saw somebody mention that on Twitter. I'm sorry, I don't know who that said, but a lot of those information that we had is from numerous of Twitter accounts. So can't I want to credit them all, but we don't have the time to do that. Then it's going to be a long, long episode. But so I'm curious to see how the Mets are able to get most of out of Ellisalt in with their pitching lab, and it also reminds me a little bit about the success with Jonathan had, who was also high spin rate arm that the Mets uh, are doing a tremendous job with. So I hope, obviously, is a little bit of a more later round arm than Jonathan was, but I hope that the metrics darling, which the Mets did well, are doing well with. Maybe it's a sneaky late round pick, 19th rounder. So that would be a tremendous pick if you get anything out of Ellie Schultz.
No shock either that the guys we picked to talk about were pitchers.
Yeah, yeah. It was if we weren't drafting so many pitchers, then it would probably be Mr. Long that I would talked about in this segment. So you're not completely off, but no, yeah, we have pitchers on there, Andrew. So we like pitchers.
We are a pitcher podcast, that's for sure.
Pitcher podcast. Yeah,
No
we
doubt
should
that
change our name to Match Pitchers Podcast.
probably should. Uh, Maybe we could do a collab with the pitching ninja or something.
That would provide some views. Definitely would.
That would.
He's a smart dude though.
Oh yeah.
So he I don't think we are at his level.
No, no, we probably
I
never
think
will
we
be
are.
either.
I think we are pretty smart general fans, but that guy
He's on
is on
another
another
level.
level for any fans.
Yep, yep. Go follow him. He's a good follow on Twitter and really,
Absolutely.
really good. Puts out some really quality stuff.
Yeah, seems like a good guy too as well. So
Oh,
we love to see good guys give credit where credit's due.
amen to that. Well, just a couple days from now, the Mets will be back in action. They are opening up with a 4-game road series against the Miami Marlins. Those pesky Marlins, always a pain in the butt for the New York Mets. As of when we are recording this, still no word on what the rotation is going to be for the Mets in this series. So it makes my job a little harder to predict a player for the series because I have the pitcher for this series and you have the batter. So, like we said, we are a
Yeah,
pitching
I don't
podcast.
know. I don't know who we're facing, so that's not that easy for me to.
No, no, but at least with a batter, you have like an idea like who's going to be in the lineup the majority of the time. So, pitcher is a little difficult for me, which is why with me going first, because like I said, we are a pitching podcast. I'm going to go with Edwin Diaz to lock down a couple games in this series from the Mets. I think Diaz is a obviously this goes without saying, but he's the guy in the Mets bullpen. The Mets bullpen goes as he goes. So if Edwin can come out of the All Star break and shut down the Marlins in this series, to lock down some wins for the Mets, that would definitely be huge. So I'm going to go with Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, it's not necessarily as bold of a pick as I did last week. That we,
And that
by the way, didn't mention because he re-altered this setup. Follow me at Corne to see my tweet about Jake Diekman. I think it was a pretty good observation from my part. And weird that after his good outing by the Nationals, he just went back to his old ways and didn't do well. So maybe I'm onto something. But my hitter is gonna be a guy who I think um, has an awful year, dreadful year, but hitting the ball a little bit better. It's Jeff McNeil. That's one hope because I hope Jeff McNeil will break out at some point. But I do believe that we see some better at bats of Jeff McNeil. So I hope that's the start for a nice period with some good at bats for Jeff.
That would certainly be great for the Mets and for Jeff himself. So Jeff McNeil can get have a strong start here to the second half of the season. That surely will help the Mets win some ball games. So that would be very, very nice. And I think we are we've talked long enough. I think this is where we're going to wrap things up here. So, Corne, you already gave out your Twitter handle or X handle, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know, but thanks for joining, and good job as always. Thanks for providing a lot of information, and I know a lot of people enjoy it. So, good job today, sir.
Thank you. You too, Andrew.
All right, everyone. This has been episode number 27 of the Queen's Connection. Make sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. Just search the Queen's Connection. We'll pop right up. In the Twitter bio are the links or our Twitter handle names. So if you want to follow us directly, you can do that as well. Also, make sure to like, subscribe if you listen on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're doing it. So thanks for listening. Enjoy this 4-game series against the Miami Marlins.